Uranium friends, you look as I look. Let's get after it. We're going to take a look at the ETFs: URA, URNM, URNJ, NUKZ, and NLR. Started off with URA, right? So just before we even go after this, you can see these daily charts. They all look fairly similar, but there's some slightly distinct differences, right? So you can see Nukz, you could see NLR. They're just kind of the daily 12 EMA red line is their resistance point at this juncture, right? So URNM and URNJ pure plays on miners, right? So a little bit of a different look. And URA is a combination of both, and it's kind of in the middle, right? So just think of those distinctions, right? So URA does have OKLO and SMR in it now, so it's going to just look a little bit different than these two, right? So pure play on the miners. These guys are the builders and whatnot. So we'll go right after it on URA. Let's see what we see. Yeah, so this is consolidation at the highs. There will be people that are calling this a head and shoulders pattern. I don't like the angled head and shoulders personally, but it's there, right? So this resistance here coincides with this one here. So you could say maybe a little bit of a resistance line there to deal with. But that's about it, right? So, and you'll see it's very, very clear on URNM, but this is what we're looking at here. This is kind of the spot, and we have a little bit of a volume profile shelf here to work through, right? So when we look at the weekly, it's probably going to garner some more volume profile. Okay, so it's there. Now, remember, URA is really, really, I mean, it's pushing up into areas where there's just going to be zero resistance, right? One could suspect that there's no more bag holders up here. If there are, I mean, wow, first of all. And secondly, it's not going to be much selling pressure. And we're just trying to push through all of this volume. There's nothing ahead of us here. So as long as the uranium sector keeps moving and the nuclear theme keeps getting favor like it does, one could surmise that these small little areas of resistance are going to end up getting beaten out pretty quick. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen. I am not in the business of saying that it is. I'm in the business of trying to see where are the resistance support spots, right? So if I take this line here and drop it in this white line, we can see it was resistance here. We can see it was support here, right? So it's becoming an important level at that 48 area. And you can just take this down if we want. We could bring it down into here, another level where it rejected. So that's what we're working with. Now, this is the weekly. So if it gets through this 41, it's reasonable to assume that we can start looking at 48, right? So this big 41, it's a big spot. You know, this is just the lifetime of the stock. There's nothing else up here to stop this thing from going. It's a great look. It could be why your resident newsletter writers or uranium pumpers are saying moon time, right? It could be. Could be time. It could be that that's why they're talking about it. They all pretend not to do technicals, but they all do in some respect. So this would be the spot that, to me, that's going to be important. And we'll see what it looks like. The weekly has cooled here, which is a great look, right? We want that cool. The daily has cooled also. Let's see if it bounced, though. If we see if we got an RSI bounce at all. Sorry. I'm way back. I hate this. All right, so yeah, and the RSI here is cooled also, so we're getting into that spot where, you know, you can look at RSI levels and they do give you some sort of, I don't know, idea of where the RSI should be bouncing, and it's kind of in these little historical levels. Yeah, so, you know, I would prefer, would love to see a daily oversold at some point. You know, just from the perspective of trading around the core, this is my core, right? URA is my core. Everything else is subject to change, and that means URNM is, Nukz is, Aqua is, CCJ, those are all subject to trading. URA is my core that I just buy when things are weak. And when they get super strong, maybe I trim just a little bit. And that's fine. If it just runs away without me here, I'm perfectly okay with it. But back to this daily because um, it's pretty cool, right? So you've got this neckline, for lack of a better term. Now, there are some gaps down here, and uranium loves to fill gaps, and I don't know what it's going to take to get it down here. But that doesn't mean it's not going to get down here, so everyone should be aware of that. This looks like a little gap. What's the low here? 32.30, and the high is what? 32.24. So there's even a little gap down here. And one could suspect this would be a gap fill on this back test of the breakout, and there's a huge volume node opening here. So it breaks down off of this level, these levels here. It warrants some thought process of saying, okay, well, I'm going to be targeting this area next. As a trader, as an investor, however you want to look at it, right? So that's the deal. It's a sideways situation. Now, Friday was a great, great day, right? So the Fed has indicated that the 2% inflation target, may not necessarily be something that they're going to be stuck to going forward, which is probably a good idea. If anyone who's followed me or talked about it, well, I've been saying for a long, long time, it's really all about jobs, and jobs are the problem right now. There's cracks in labor. So, if inflation stays, let's just say it's the 2% target's no longer the target, or it's 3%, and they're happy with that. Well, hard assets love uranium. So, not uranium, commodities. Hard assets love inflationary environments where, investing in them and playing them and trading them is probably the spot to be. So, I'm looking at it at that in that light. So from here, we've taken out this resistance. We've closed above it. We've closed above the 12 EMA. All good looks for continuation. So we have to see what Monday brings. Bitcoin dumped. Supposedly some whale. Just maybe it's a liquidity grab. Who knows? But sometimes crypto is the leading indicator of risk on, risk off. So we'll see what the futures do. But you look at gold, you look at silver, you look at the dollar. These are all things that are indicating that commodities are getting their move. So, uh, long story on this URA thing, but it's a good little intro to see about what I'm thinking about. I am seeing these gaps. I'm not overly concerned about them right now. 35.64 now becomes a key level. So was it just a little fakey breaky and it's back up just enough to cool off some more RSI and get going? Remains to be seen. So just remember though, URA could show some weakness compared to Urnm and Urnj because they do have the Aquos and the SMRs in there. And that may weigh down on URA a little bit for a while. We'll see. Either way, Aquo and SMR, they've got the liquidity in the option chain, so they're going to get some. They're going to get some attention from the quote unquote tourists. Now, URNM. I've been talking about this head and shoulders. I'm positioned for both scenarios. So I am in calls. I am in puts. I have sold some calls. I have sold some puts. So they're basically both risk-free positions. But this is the spot to get over. It's got to get through here. It's got to get through this $48 range, which coincides with all of this, coincides with this little bit of a volume profile here. Let's just look at the monthly and the volume profile and see what it tells us. Yeah, we're right at the spot, right, where it can get over, and then things really thin out up here. So it's reasonable to say that if it gets through this 48 level, 48.20, whatever it is, this level, right? I'm not trying to be a rocket scientist. If it gets through here, it's testing these highs. And if it tests these highs and gets through them, it's likely it's going to test these October 2024 highs. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm positioned with leverage in either scenario, and all it's doing now is burning up my theta, which is absolutely fine. Um, because again, I trimmed. I trimmed in both directions. Something it should have indicated to me, and it's tough to explain. I'm not going to go into it real heavy, but on Friday, both my puts and my calls were up, and that's slightly unusual. And I took note of it, and I couldn't say directly what was going to do because of that. I just knew that they were both up, which means that their implied volatility was kind of indicating some sort of move. And it did, right? So it gapped up and it's on the go and it closed at the high. So Monday, this week is going to be telling if it takes this resistance out, right? So it gets through all this stuff and we could be talking about getting up to $60. We're not talking about that now. I am not targeting that now. I don't have that insight. My insight is that there is still a head and shoulders pattern, and there's a level here that needs to get taken out. And if it does, it's reasonable to think that it's going to start visiting this 50 area. And if it takes that out, it's reasonable to think that it's going to start testing this 55, possibly the 60 area. But we've got still plenty of work to do. Sideways chop. So just take it at that. No, if you've been following me, you know I've been positioned for both scenarios, as crazy as that sounds. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I trim strength on both plays. It's really what it comes down to. Urnj, the juniors, again, it's a pure pure play for uranium miners. They are the juniors. Looks very similar to Urnm. Doesn't surprise me because they've always looked kind of similar. We have these value areas. I can extend these boxes over. It might give us a little bit better of a view as to what it looks like. So, it's struggling. Urnj is struggling to get into this zone again. Now, anyone who's followed me knows I talk about you all the time with it's all about the boxes. It's the same type of deal here, right? So these boxes, there will be technical analyst guys who say, oh, your boxes are too big, whatever. I don't get crazy on that stuff, all right? I'm not like Mr. Precision. You can see it. It's just there's a lot of action in these boxes, and the volume nodes are telling you. So we could technically say something like this. Why is it doing that? I'll have the magnet on. Hold on. So we could technically say something like this. This box might deserve to be moved into something like um, this area here, right? So it's catching all of this. It's catching all of this. Um, it's acting as support over here, which is good, right? So you start to see levels that start to act as support and resistance. Pay attention to them. If they break, you look for the follow through. If there's no follow through, start going the opposite way. I mean, that's how I look at it. So if I get a support break with no follow through, I'm starting to look long. Okay. And I kind of did that with you on Friday, maybe. Bought that dip. It's the same thing here. So if you get this break with no follow through, well, maybe add to puts or buy puts. Who knows? So, I don't know until these things happen. I don't make these predictions. I'm not playing these waves or whatever. If you want predictive analysis, you got to go to these guys that do it, like these Elliott Wave guys and whatnot. It's not my game. It never will be. I will not predict price action. I will only respond and react to it. So Urnj looks very much like Urnm, but its support, its resistance level is a bit higher than the left shoulder. So you could contend it's an argument, a little bit of an angled head and shoulders look here. Just for simplicity, we just follow these moving averages. There's your trend line. You don't even have to draw trend lines. Moving averages can act as your trend line. They're telling you that everything's remaining above and bringing these averages down to bunch up again. And if you watch my videos, I talk about it all the time. When they bunch up, when they spread out, they tend to want to reconcile and bunch up again. When they bunch up, you want them to use it as support. If they break it, they break it, and it's a pretty solid break um, in both directions, right? So they bunched up here, broke over, held them as support. Now it's riding. These are all EMA riders. little fakey breakies to bring these things together, trading above them. Very good sign if you're thinking about moving averages and using them as your trends indicators, right? So it's holding. It's holding. It's really good sign. If you look at the weekly, it's holding, right? It's holding these moving averages. And just even if you take all the moving averages out, you just use the red line, which is the 12 EMA, the weekly is holding it. And that's quite the hammer, right? So bulls are defending the level. That's what it comes down to. Just think about it in those terms. Bulls are defending this level in the juniors. All right, so you need to see it. It already took out this last week's inside bar, closed at the highs. So we now need to see how does this test go moving forward. All right, that's the way I look at these things. You can look at them different. It's fine with me. Okay. Nukz daily chart. Young ETF. Let's look at the weekly chart. Okay, young ETF. What do we have in here? We've got the builders. We got your ACO, the Sam Altman thing. You got your SMR. You've got your NNE. You've got those builders, BWXT, all of those. Look at the holdings in here, all right? So they have had quite the run, all right, with very little weekly consolidation. This is your first sign of weekly consolidation, and it broke support, but the buyers are still stepping in. It's running a little bit hot. It's a young name. It's hard to really start to say, okay, well, what's the historical RSI for this? Well, it's tough to say, but it's a straight up run. There's a little pivot here, right? There's no pivots here. Maybe this is, but it's so dinky. This is your first true pivot to cool off the RSI. It's exactly what a weekly bull wants to see, and it's used to support as the 12 EMA. So, as bad as the things seem to be going for Aqua and whatnot, they're just going through normal consolidation. There'll be another video on that stuff. So now the daily 12 EMA, it lost its daily. Look at this ride. All right. It's been riding the 12 EMA since April. All right. All the way up. It's the ride. Very few taps, very few undercuts. Now the character has changed on the daily chart for Nukz in that the 12 EMA is now resistance and has been back tested a couple times and failed. So it's your first red flag for this ETF. You want to see it change. You want to see it get back over these EMAs. But the good thing is that, again, these EMAs got stretched out. They're going to want to reconcile. This is a long way away from the 50-day moving average. So, take that as you will. What did occur is that this support held. This newest piece of daily consolidation from June, July area, it held. Good volume node, right? So if I'm looking at this chart and say, all right, well, what a target, what am I going to do if this thing breaks down? Well, I'm going to start looking down here into these volume nodes and into this chop area here. So that's kind of the way it plays. For now, this daily higher low is set, right? And then when I see that, when I know that, I put an alert in, right? This is my daily higher low for now. For now. Okay, it's set. Why is it set? Because this daily candle broke over this daily high. So that's set until it's not, right? So when I look at things like that, I go, all right, let me zoom in. Has the hourly changed the trend? I got to take this, go to regular trading hours. Has the hourly chart changed its trend? Low, high, higher low, higher high. It has. Has the 4-hour? No. So now what's going to happen is that I'm going to say, okay, we're looking for a 4-hour higher low compared to 55.55. That's what I'm looking at, right? And then I can say, all right, well, where could it possibly occur? Well, let's see if it rides this 12 EMA. But anywhere above 55.55, and it's a 4-hour trend, that becomes your 4-hour high or low. And then you're going to be looking for a lower high. I mean, a higher high. So 4-hour chart on Nukz is the spot to be looking to say whether it's go time again or it's not, right? So low, high, it wants to find a higher low compared to this level. So let's just say it does that. And then the next thing you want to do is take that high out. Then you've got your 4-hour trend change. Then I can start looking at the daily. And that will probably coincide with a daily trend change or a daily continuation or whatever you want to talk about here, because it didn't really, the daily never lost its uptrend. The daily never confirmed a downtrend yet, right? So it lost its uptrend when it failed to get above here and then broke this low. Okay, so it's lost its uptrend. It has not established a new downtrend. It has not regained the uptrend yet. And that's what it's doing. And that's why I'll zoom into lower time frames, because I want to see if that change occurs. Got it? Get it? Good. Next, NLR, which is new for me. I'm not really covering it that much, but I am putting it in because, NLR has just been moving very well. And there are some family offices that are playing this name, and I'm just curious why. That's not a horrible div. Yeah, it's had better divs too. So, I mean, there's a dividend reduction here, interestingly enough. Let me see this. Yeah, special. That's probably a special. So, the dividend's decent there, and it's got a decent record of paying it. So, same deal as Nukz, right? 12 EMA bounce, weekly hammer candle. Daily, the higher low is set. Actually, it's a lower low. So this, no, it did. It lost its uptrend again, but still hasn't regained its uptrend. It's just makes it a sideways thing. So if we look at the 4-hour, now that, right, is mini adjusted. Hold on. This is a different 4-hour look. So it has created enough space to make a higher low, which makes me feel a little bit better about the chances of this getting a 4-hour trend change, because this is a lot of room, right? So you could see something like that, and that'll be good. So NLR, I would be, if I'm looking at Nukz, I'm playing Nukz. Just say I'm playing Nukz and I'm not playing NLR. I have no desire to play NLR because, well, for me, it's the liquidity is a problem. But Nukz, if I'm looking at Nukz waiting for that 4-hour trend change that I just talked about, I think you're going to see it here in NLR before you see it in Nukz. So I would be watching NLR for clues on Nukz. And that's what we're looking at here. I just want to see volume profile because NLR is a pretty long-standing ETF, right? So NLR is, pushing at its all-time highs. There's a distinct change in the character of this ETF. That's why you have to pay attention to volume. This is a monthly chart. This is a distinct change. Hold on, I got a cough. Right? So it says something to me. There's interest. And if anyone's listened to me talk about LTBR, it's the same deal. LTBR, the volume has just told me that there's a distinct change in that chart. Yeah, so this is a long video. This is about to, it's testing all-time highs, and there's not much resistance here for NLR. So on a monthly, it looks great. You do have some RSI divergence here. This is well above historical RSIs for the name, which has enough data to say that. So there's some caution, but there's no red flags at the moment on this thing. Watch the 4-hour chart on NLR to be positioning perhaps in Nukz. Devil's over and out.